Hey everybody, in today's video I'm going to go over data parsing, and specifically I'm going to go over 4 functions that can make your life a whole lot easier. If you've used mid, left, right, all those sorts of functions to painstakingly go through and parse data, there's other functions that can make your life a whole lot easier. So here I've got data from the S&P 500, a list of stocks in the S&P, and I've got information about their names, their industry, sub-industry, headquarters, and the date that they're at it. So a common thing you may want to do in parsing data is separating out the state and the city. So I'm going to do that here. So let's say one column for the city, one for the state. And the first function I'm going to use is the text after function. So for this, I want to get the state, which comes after the comma in this field. So I select this text, and for my delimiter, I'm just going to put a comma in quotes. And so it's going to grab everything afterwards. Now you can specify, if you've got multiple commas in here, that you don't want it to just be after the first comma. You've got this instance number here, so you can specify maybe after the second comma, after the third comma. So you can imagine how much more simpler that is, because in the past, you'd have to sort of count where those different columns are, use maybe the find function to find where it is. Here, you can actually specify the instance number. So that's really cool. It makes life a whole lot easier. So in this case, I'm just going to grab everything after the first one, so I don't have to specify an instance number. And so it gives me California. Now, the one thing you'll notice, there is a space afterwards, just because I've got that after the comma is a space. So what I could do is adjust this so it's after a space following the comma as well, just to be a bit more precise. And now we've gotten rid of that entirely. So that's how that works. Next function is, there's a text after, so there's also a text before function. And this works in the exact same way. It's just, obviously it's going to be everything before the delimiter. So in this case, I'm going to select the cell again. My delimiter is going to remain a comma. This time I don't need to add any space because there's no space before the comma. And just like that, I've parsed out the city and state using these 2 functions. So a really easy way to do that. So I'm going to delete this out now and move on to the next function, which is text join. And what text join will do is make it a whole lot easier for you to concatenate and group values together. So, in the past you may use the concatenate function, but text join is actually even easier. So how it works is we can specify a delimiter. So let's say we want to put a comma in between all these values or some spaces. We can specify that. So let's say I'll just do a comma to start, and then if we want to ignore empty cells, we can set it to true or false. I'm just going to leave that blank. And now you can specify, the cells that you want to group together. And just like that, you've created, you've joined those all together into one cell. And so you can change this delimiter. So let's do 2 dashes, just so it's a bit clear where those fields start and end. We do that. And one thing I noticed is that although it does basically ask you to put in these different fields in different places, it doesn't even matter, because you can just drag this as well and you'll get the same results. So a really easy way to concatenate. You don't have to individually select cells. You don't have to use ampersand. You don't have to use the concatenate function where you'd have to specify what your delimiter is, because with using the concatenate function, you'd have to specify the text. We'd have to specify that we want a comma in between, another one, and so on and so forth, right? So it's a bit more painstaking of a process. With the text join, we're just specifying our delimiter and then our range. Easy. Now, so we've grouped the text, but now let's also split it apart. And that brings us to the 4th function, and that is the text split function. So going back to this headquarters location where we've got the city and the state, we can specify how we want to cut this data in half. So let's say we select this value, and for the column delimiter, breaking into columns, again, we can select the comma in here, And now we've created two different columns. Again, one for the state, or sorry, one for the city and the state, just like before, using text before and text after, except using text split, it's even easier than that, where if you want to create two different columns, we can do that. So really easy to do that with text split. Now, another thing you can do is, let's say you didn't want it to go across, you want to go to vertically. So in that case, you don't need to specify a column delimiter, you can specify a row delimiter. So we'll skip over the column delimiter, and for the row delimiter, let's enter a comma. And now we've got it going up and down. Obviously, in this context, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but if you needed to flip it so that it goes into rows, that's how you'd be able to do that. Now, one thing you might be tempted to do is look at these dates and think, hey, you can apply the same thing here. But this is where you want to be a bit careful with this, because these are already in date format, and using text split is actually going to wreck your data if you do this, because if you use the delimiter, thinking, okay, we're going to split this into different cells based on the slash, that actually converts it into a general value, and we can't convert this back into a date. We just get that numerical value associated with that date. So with dates, it doesn't look to work as well. So you may want to use dates that are in a text format and then do this. But for the text split, it does seem to cause issues when you try to do this on a date. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. But for regular text, and parsing, text split is really effective in breaking out into columns or rows, depending on what you need. So hope you found this video useful, and thank you very much for watching.